Okay, we're going to begin with subjects and predicates. This is about page 10, depending upon which book you have. There have been several edits, but subjects and predicates are two things that you need to know. The first is you need to be able to match the vocabulary words. So we'll come down here to this page. You match the subject to the definition, the predicate to the definition, the compound subject, compound verb to the definition. So learn these words, and that will help you learn the, when you learn the vocabulary, it's kind of like you go to a new country and you learn a new language. Learning the vocabulary helps you understand the concepts better. But we're really focusing on identify the subject and predicate within a given sentence. This is absolutely imperative for your writing, because if you cannot write a complete sentence, you're not going to be able to communicate. Okay, let's go down here and look at what do you need to know? What background knowledge do you need in order to understand this concept? Well, you need to be able to read. You need to be able to identify patterns of words. You really need to be able to identify nouns and pronouns. And the reason is because that's where your subject is. Your subject is going to be a noun or a pronoun most of the time. You also need to be able to identify prepositional phrases and infinitive phrases, because we can take the prepositional phrases out and it doesn't change the meaning of the sentence. And then you need to be able to identify verbs and verb phrases, because that's what acts as the predicate. All right, let's look at patterns. Where in the sentence do I find this? Well, most sentences follow this pattern: subject, verb, object. So not all of them. Obviously, there's always exceptions in English, but that will help us know that we're looking for the subject first and then the verb, and we're not going to worry about the object till the next unit. All right, you need to know this, and you may have to write this in your book, but a sentence is a group of words that has a subject, a verb, and it expresses a complete thought. That is what we're trying to dissect our sentences. All right, here's some exceptions. If the sentence asks a question, then the subject and verb are often inverted. So that means the verb comes first. For example, where are my glasses? Are comes before glasses. Are is the verb, the linking verb. Glasses is the subject. If the sentence begins with the word here or there, your subject and verb will be inverted. That means the verb will come before the subject. For example, there is no heat in this room. The subject is heat and the verb is. So just keep those two exceptions in mind. Questions and any sentence that begins with there. I know when I was teaching, I would tell my students, don't ever start a sentence with there when you're writing an essay. And the reason is because it makes it sounds informal, and it inverts the subject and verb, and it makes it kind of wonky. So we don't do that. All right, why do I need to be able to identify a subject and a predicate? It's because it is the foundation of sentences. You absolutely must be able to do this. Otherwise, you're going to have sentence fragments. You're going to have run-on sentences. You're not going to communicate well. And remember, we're trying to make you into a great writer. Also, you need to make sure your subjects and your predicates agree. We talked a little bit about this with pronouns, but your subjects have to agree in number. So if you have a singular subject, then you have to have a singular verb. If you have a plural subject, you have to have a plural verb. And we'll cover all of that. What is a subject and predicate not? It is not a group of words in a sentence without both a subject and a predicate. Okay, a group of words is not a sentence without both a subject and a predicate. It has to have both. A subject will never be found inside of a prepositional phrase. Now, there are occasions that a prepositional phrase, the entire phrase, will act as a subject. That's rare, but not uncommon, not unheard of, I should say. A subject and a predicate are not always only one word each. Often you can have compound subjects and compound verbs. All right, other important information. You must have both a subject and a predicate for a group of words to be considered a sentence. Throughout this book, the word predicate and verb are used synonymously. A verb is a part of speech, a predicate is a part of sentence, but often we call the predicate the verb because it's both. A compound subject, that means if you have two subjects, for example, Bob and Cheryl went to the store, Bob and Cheryl are the subjects and went is the verb. And, or you could say Bob and Cheryl went to the store and bought a cup of coffee. So we'll get into all of that. All right. Why don't we dive in to identifying subjects and predicates in a sentence? So this should give us some steps. It can be a process of elimination, and that's the way I teach it. And the reason I do it that way is because it helps those people who are not necessarily strong in this, and it gives them the repetition. Once you learn it, they'll jump out at you. Okay, so here we go. This is what we do. We identify, let me make this a little bigger. We identify the prepositional phrase by putting parentheses around them. We drove to the store. To the store is the prepositional phrase. Then we draw a line through the prepositional phrase. That way we know that that's not going to be our subject and our verb. Okay, then we find the action and place a double line under that. So what is the action in this sentence? The action is drove. So that is, we put double lines. Ask who or what. So who or what drove? Who or what drove to the store? And the pronoun we answers the question. So therefore, we is the subject and drove is the verb or the predicate. All right, so let's go through this. Okay, we're going to go through and practice these steps. And I've split my screen here so you can see. So the first thing you do is identify any prepositional phrases by putting parentheses around them. So this first sentence, Cheryl bought a new home with her lottery money. So the word with is a preposition. Lottery money is the object of the preposition. Okay, so we did that. And then it says draw a line through the prepositional phrase. So we'll come over here and put a line through it. That tells us that none of these words are going to be our subject and a verb. Okay, then we come to the next one and we find the action. Cheryl bought a new home. What is the action there? The action is bought. It's something that was done. So we're going to underline that twice. Okay. Then it says ask who or what action. So who bought a new home? What bought a new home? The word that answers that is Cheryl. Uh-oh, this is not helpful. Okay, there we go. So we put a single line underneath that. Okay, and that now we've answered that. So let's do the second one. The first thing is identify the prepositional phrases. So in the Boston Marathon is the prepositional phrase. Okay, it says our steps over here say draw a line through the prepositional phrase. So we're going to highlight that and put a line through. Now we know none of these words are going to be our subject or a verb. Okay, then we find the action and place a double underline under the verb. So what is the action? Alan or ran? Well, ran is the action. That's something that someone did. So we underline that twice. Okay, then we come back and we ask who or what in the action. Who ran? Well, Alan is the only thing that it can be. And so we're going to draw a single underline under Alan. There we have it. Okay, one more time. And I think you guys will get this. This is not difficult. It's just going through the process. Okay, in the old days is our prepositional phrase. And from a Victrola is a prepositional phrase. So we're going to mark these out because the words in the old days and from a Victrola, our subject and verb will not be in those. So the next thing that we're supposed to do, come over here and it says, find the action, the music played. Those are the only words. Let me see if I can just do it this way. Kind of even gray those out to make it a little bit easier. Okay, the only words that we need to look at is the music played. One of those words is going to be our subject. One of those words is going to be the verb. And you can probably, or the predicate, you can probably tell because we've gone through and we know the word the is an adjective, but we're going to go through our steps. So find the action is played. We know it ends in ed, that makes it a verb. Okay, what played? We ask who or what. Who played? What played? Music answers that question. And there we have our subject and our predicate, the music played. Okay. This isn't difficult, but follow these steps exactly, and you'll be able to find your subject and a verb, your predicate. Okay, we're going to stop there, and I'll come back in another video and do compound subjects and verbs.